Isn't it crazy that we live in a world where black people fighting back against the goddamn KKK is now considered fucking controversial? That's the reality of this generation we're in, because Ubisoft have cancelled an Assassin's Creed game because they did not want to upset those racist neckbeards. So a new article just came out from both Stephen Totillo, a very reliable video game reporter, and Tom Henderson, who needs no introduction at this point. I've covered him thousands of times, that Ubisoft have cancelled an Assassin's Creed game that would have taken place after the American Civil War during the Reconstruction era. And I'm not going to lie, it sounds like a very bold idea, if not the boldest idea this franchise has ever had, and we've had some crazy ideas in the past. But unfortunately this was cancelled. So as you may or may not know, Ubisoft planned 10 Assassin's Creed games to release in the next few years. I think the next 5 years, I'm not too sure. And you know, one of those games was codenamed Project Scarlet. And this was going to be a Ubisoft Quebec open world RPG game. That's essentially this now cancelled game. Now when you hear about what the story was going to be and you know the themes around it, you'd be quite shocked. So this now cancelled Assassin's Creed game was going to follow a former slave who becomes an assassin and returns to the south to face the rise of the KKK. Yes, the goddamn KKK. We almost had a Django Unchained style Assassin's Creed game. You know, it's quite interesting to think that the KKK would have probably been the Templars given the history of this franchise, but nope, no more. Now apparently this game wasn't one of those early ideas, because the report said that development was moving along nicely. The people involved were said to be excited about it too, so that's quite sad. Now of course we have no idea if it was ever going to be a well written game, but given that this would have been a Ubisoft Quebec product and I have zero confidence in their writing department, it probably would have faltered narratively. But let's be honest, the idea of a black assassin being the main protagonist in a post-Civil War America sounds very cool. This game was supposed to come out around late 2027, and that's according to Tom Henderson just recently, so it did seem like it was still quite a ways away. And Scott Phillips would have been the director of the game. I believe he's the same director of Assassin's Creed Odyssey. So, you know, imagine a massive open world type of post-Civil War America game. That's what this would have been. Now, me personally, I'm kind of annoyed at the cancellation, but I also understand their reasons. I also do think the game probably wouldn't have turned out that well, because I feel like instead of a massive open world, this type of setting would have fit better for a linear focused Assassin's Creed game. But maybe that's just me. Anyway, I digress. Now the reason they cancelled it is because of the backlash that Assassin's Creed Shadows got, especially with the whole Yasuke situation, and they basically were scared to put this out there. Especially a game about tackling another racially charged story, especially one that deals directly with racism in America. Now I kind of get it, the political climate in the US right now is it's insane. Every piece of media that touches on race or history instantly turns into a target for outrage. If Ubisoft had gone through with this, there is no question that the game would have been attacked from both sides. You'd have people claiming it's, you know, woke propaganda, and you know, there'd be plenty saying Ubisoft didn't go far enough. Either way, I do genuinely believe the whole thing would have been a PR nightmare. But then again, pre-2014 Ubisoft, when they weren't afraid of things like this and the world wasn't so fucking soft, they 100% would have released this. And to be honest, part of me feels like even if Ubisoft did push forward with this game, the developers would have gone through hell again. We already saw what happened with the Assassin's Creed Shadows team. I tweeted about this months ago. Some of the developers had to get therapy because of the constant hate and harassment they were getting online. There were even reports that they had to bring in psychologists because the negativity around the game was affecting their mental health. And that's the thing. People need to realize these aren't executives who make the marketing decisions. These are normal people. These are artists, writers, and you know, programmers who want to make something cool. And they end up getting ripped apart because of how toxic the conversation gets. So I can totally see why Ubisoft might have looked at Project Scarlet and said, we can't put our developers through that again. Because let's be honest, if this game really had a black main character fighting the fucking KKK, you know exactly what kind of people online would have gone after them. It sucks to even have to say that, but that's the world we're in right now, where racists thrive online and developers have to pay the price for it. It's unfortunate because, you know, years ago, this franchise used to tackle stuff like Nazis, dictators, and war crimes being framed as Templar operations without hesitation. This would have been light work for pre-2014 Ubisoft, but I guess times have changed. Those writers and developers are long gone, and I mean long gone. Still, it's hard not to feel like a big opportunity was lost here. This could have been something super interesting, you know, a chance to tell a story that actually mattered and showed a new side of American history through the Assassin's Creed lens, a franchise that's, literally built for this type of stuff. When you really think about it, this game could have been a kind of spiritual follow-up to Assassin's Creed 3 or Freedom Cry. Both of those touched parts of this story before. Assassin's Creed 3 showed the birth of America through Connor's eyes, and Freedom Cry gave us a small but, a very powerful look at the slaves through Adewale. But this one, oh boy, Project Scarlet, which is the now cancelled game, this would have taken all of that and pushed it a whole new level. I want you to realize what type of game this could have been. So the Reconstruction era is the time period. Of course, this was during the time when towns were being rebuilt from the grounds up and different factions were fighting over what the so-called new United States should look like. That idea alone is perfect for Assassin's Creed. In fact, too much of this is perfect, and that's why I'm kind of frustrated. It's the perfect setup for the Assassin vs Templar conflict. The literal idea of, freedom and control taking on real-world meaning in a country literally being rebuilt from the grounds up. We have not had this type of idea in this franchise for years. In fact, the last time was over 10 years ago. The recent games have just been, focused on mythology, ancient history, that kind of stuff, which yes is very cool in itself, but I do think that Project Scarlet sounded like a return to what made those older games so unique back then. It's just that idea of politics and power struggles that we used to love and, most importantly reflect on real history. And that's what stings about this one. The potential was insane. If this game had made it further, we potentially could have seen the likes of those burned out southern towns. I mean, have you seen Red Dead Redemption 2's take on the KKK? I love the idea that they introduced. I mean, there was even a Mafia 3 mission with the KKK. Studios have done this before. A similar concept probably would have happened. We definitely would have seen those torch-lit clan meetings and literal trains, captives, that sort of stuff. I mean, maybe cities like New Orleans again, which we saw from Assassin's Creed Liberation, or Charlestown, or even Atlanta's massive open world maps. But then again, would that even work? Imagine Atlanta back then as an open world map. I don't know much about the history of Atlanta, so I don't know, but that doesn't really sound appealing. So yeah, that's basically all I wanted to go over in this video. It is a short one, I know, but it's one I definitely had to make, especially given this recent news. What do you think about this cancelled Assassin's Creed game? Oh, by the way, before I finish, I 100% know this video will get a lot of angry comments somehow, which is crazy by the way. Somehow there are genuine people out there that would be offended at the KKK. I don't know. Imagine that, being offended at the goddamn KKK. I said it earlier, but that is genuinely the world we live in, where being racist is now getting so normalized in certain countries of the world. Anyway, yeah, let me know down below your thoughts. I'm actually interested. Of course, only in the comments in good faith. I'll be deleting those racist pricks. So yeah, I'll see you in the next one.